All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're building a practical toolkit for a topic that affects literally millions of people, depression. We're going to map out all the different paths to treatment, from therapy to lifestyle changes, just to help make the whole journey a lot clearer. Okay, let's just dive right in. Because if you're looking into treatments for depression, the sheer number of options can feel like a maze, right? You've got psychotherapy, medication, lifestyle changes. I mean, where do you even begin? But here's the most important thing to know right from the very start. Recovery is absolutely possible. And since treatment isn't some one-size-fits-all prescription, we're going to map out the main paths to give you a really clear view of the landscape. And it's so important to remember the scale here. We're talking about a shared human experience that, according to the World Health Organization, affects over 280 million people around the globe. And that is exactly why understanding the full spectrum of support is so vital. So to guide us through this explainer, we're going to use this idea called the spectrum of support. Now, instead of thinking of it as some rigid ladder you have to climb, think of it more like a personal toolkit. We'll start with professionally guided care and then move to these powerful daily strategies you can build for yourself. So let's start with what we're calling the professional toolkit. This is the stuff where you'll work with doctors and therapists. We're going to cover the three main categories of clinical treatment here: psychotherapy, medication, and somatic therapies. First up is psychotherapy, which you probably know as talk therapy. And, it's so much more than just venting. It's about actively working with a professional to build new skills, challenge those unhelpful thought patterns, and really get to the root causes of what's going on. And there are a ton of evidence-based approaches out there. For example, you have cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which kind of helps you retrain your brain's automatic negative responses. Then there's interpersonal therapy, which focuses on strengthening your connections with others, and a technique called behavioral activation, which we're actually going to circle back to later, is all about actively re-engaging with a meaningful life. And this brings us to a really key finding from the research. Medication is an incredibly powerful tool, but it's often most effective when it doesn't work alone. It really works best when it's paired with the skills and insights you gain in therapy. The two are like a team. They truly complement each other. Okay, so let's look at medication. The most common starting point are SSRIs. That stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Basically, they work by increasing levels of the neurotransmitter serotonin in the brain. They're often prescribed first because they have a great track record and generally fewer side effects than older classes of drugs like TCAs. It's really important to know that finding the right medication and dosage can be a process of trial and error with your doctor. It's not a quick fix. Now, for cases of severe or treatment-resistant depression, where therapy and medications just haven't been enough, there are more intensive procedures. This includes electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT. And, despite the stigma it gets from old movies, modern ECT is a safe procedure that's done under anesthesia, and it's considered one of the most effective treatments available. All right, now let's move to the other side of the spectrum, the powerful tools you can build into your daily life. It's so important to say these are not replacements for professional care, but they are absolutely essential partners in building resilience and supporting that long-term recovery. So a core technique from CBT that you can practice anywhere, anytime, is learning to spot and challenge these things called cognitive distortions. You can think of them as mental traps or these sneaky little tricks your mind plays on you, putting a negative filter on pretty much everything. The goal is to catch those automatic, pessimistic thoughts and just consciously ask, hey, is there a more balanced, a more realistic way to see this? Remember behavioral activation from the therapy slide? Well, here's how it works. It's a super straightforward but really powerful strategy. See, depression just drains your motivation, and that creates this vicious cycle of withdrawal. This technique breaks that cycle by having you actively schedule positive or rewarding experiences back into your life, treating them like they're non-negotiable appointments. And of course, we absolutely cannot overlook the fundamentals. These 5 pillars, exercise, connection, nutrition, sleep, and sunlight, they're all backed by solid research. For instance, just 30 minutes of exercise can have an antidepressant effect. Seriously, each one of these is a powerful lever you can pull to directly impact your mood and your energy. And finally, practices like mindfulness and gratitude can be totally transformative. They don't try to eliminate negative thoughts. Instead, they help change your relationship to them. You learn to just observe your thoughts without getting swept away, which can break that awful cycle of rumination that just fuels depression. So, we've filled our toolkit with professional treatments and powerful daily habits. The final and most important question is, how do you combine all of them to build your own personal path forward? And the crucial takeaway here is this: these strategies are not mutually exclusive. They are most powerful when they're combined. An effective plan, one that you develop with a healthcare professional, will draw tools from all across the spectrum. Maybe it's therapy plus daily walks or medication plus a mindfulness practice to create a routine that is tailored specifically for you. So we'll end with this question, not just to summarize, but to turn all this information into a personal starting point. The real key to recovery is just to start small. Maybe it's scheduling a walk, calling a friend, or even just looking up a therapist online. What's one small, manageable step that feels possible for you today?